Welcome back to Brazil Crypto Report. For this episode, I'm joined by Jean-Michel Guillot on site at Blockchain Rio. Jean-Michel is head of product for blockchain and digital assets at Dinamo Networks. We discuss how Dinamo provides essential cryptography tools for the PIX payment system and the forthcoming Drex CBDC protocol. All right, welcome to the Brazil Crypto Report podcast. We're coming to you from the Blockchain Festival in Rio de Janeiro. It's a really awesome event here. Really loving this. It's a great time. I'm here with Jean-Michel Guillot of Dinamo Networks. Welcome, Jean-Michel.
Hey, thanks, Aaron.
Amazing. Great to have you here.
It's great to thank you for the invitation and thank you for the great setup here.
Yes.
Professional.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Appreciate you being here. So let's talk a bit about what your company, Dinamo Networks, is doing in kind of all things related to the central bank and the blockchain ecosystem here in Brazil. But first, why don't you give us a quick introduction to yourself? Who are you? Professional background? Where do you come from? What is Dinamo Networks?
Thanks, Aaron. Well, as a matter of fact, I'm French-Brazilian, okay? So I have both nationalities. I did all my scholarship in France. And at some point, I wanted to come back here to Brazil. So I did several back and forth from between Brazil and Europe. My career began in consulting, so very business school, then consulting, so very straightforward career. And then I wanted to enter in technology. So my last, before Dinamo Network, my work was in a technology company, a software company for banks. And for that company, I covered Latin America. And at some point, the company, that was a Swiss company, they told me to come to Switzerland. So I stayed there almost a bit more than 2 years. That was before 2021. And it was in that during that period that I started to enter into the blockchain space, because my software company was trying to do some connections with companies that would provide cryptocurrencies, so and cryptocurrency infrastructure. So that's how I entered in that. Oh, space.
Amazing!
And somehow at the end of 2021, I had to return to Brazil, and I was really eager to enter in the blockchain space. So that's how I ended up here at Dinamo to develop and structure our products related to blockchain. So that's one of my roles here in Dinamo. It's basically I'm heading products here at the company, but with a focus on all the developments that are related to blockchain technology.
Amazing, amazing. And then for those who may not be aware, why don't you give us an overview of just what Dinamo Networks is? And obviously there's a blockchain focus, but what else do you guys build?
Great. So Dinamo is not a new company. We're in the market like since 20 years, I think, something like that. We provide mostly the financial system, financial institutions, governments, big companies. And we're specialists in digital security. So we do have several solutions of digital security. They're mainly based on a technology that is called hardware security module. Basically, we have a technology which is a cryptographic server. The objective of this technology is, of course, to keep cryptographic processes secured and cryptographic keys secure as well. So basically, right now it's used in several use cases all along mainly the financial industry. So, for instance, and probably many people don't know Dinamo, but here in Brazil, if you're a Brazilian, somehow you interact with some of our solutions.
Interesting.
So one of the main use case is the PIX use case. Basically, we provide the central bank with this kind of solution, and all the PIX of Brazil is somehow verified in this central infrastructure. So when you do a PIX, it goes at some point into the central bank infrastructure and into our solutions. I don't know if you know.
Can we maybe talk about that without maybe getting like super technical on it, but maybe just talk about, you know, how this hardware security module that you guys use like fits into the Pix ecosystem. Like how does every Pix transaction that I send, how does this HSM?
The Pix system, the instant payment, it goes through the SPI, which is the Sistemas de Pagos Instantâneos here in Brazil. Basically, when you send a Pix, it doesn't go directly from your bank A to the bank B of the one you're sending money. It goes first through a central system, which is the central bank. And so there's a message here that there's always message when you have a transaction, and this message needs to be verified. There's key. So basically, your bank will have its own Pix key, and the central bank will verify that this message is correctly sent with the correct key. And so there's what we call a digital signature in between. So the digital signature is done within this piece of equipment, which is it's a hardware, and it's done, of course, in a highly performance way. You need to have a high throughput, what we call. I think the Pix is 150 million now operations per day.
Per day?
Yeah.
Wow.
So basically, you need to secure that the cryptographic process behind this is well done, and you need to do it very fast.
Yeah.
So basically, that's how we do it. But there's several other use cases. So for instance, here the driving license, you can already have it digitally in your phone. Behind this, there's a cryptographic process as well to guarantee the authenticity of that. Banks use this kind of equipment to generate two-factor authentications. The seed of the two-factor authentication, it's a cryptographic key that needs to be kept very well. That's one other case. A very well used case here in Brazil is the digital certificates, which you need here. You can sign a document electronically in Brazil, which is a qualified signature.
Okay.
And it's covered by law, so it entered in the law, and it's the PKI, the Brazilian PKI that let's say rules this. It's called ICP Brazil, Infraestrutura de Chave Pública Brasil. So all the certification authorities use our solutions to generate those digital certificates that are used to sign documents all along Brazil. That's another one of the another case that we work on.
Interesting.
And we entered like since some time now in this blockchain space, because blockchain of course is cryptography. So we were a bit pushed into this world. Firstly by some of our clients that wanted to protect their cryptographic key. And how did we start in this world? We started with it was interesting because it was a project for ANAC, which is the national agency for flights for airlines, and they needed a distributed ledger for the flights registers.
Mm-hmm.
And basically they did a project on Hyperledger Fabric, and we connected to that project to have the keys of the nodes protected in an HSM, in a hardware security module. When you have a permission blockchain, you have nodes that communicate one between them, and
right.
And one of the value that we can add is be sure that all these nodes are well connected between them, and that the nodes that are participating are really identified to participate there. So we started with that. We started after with another project with B3 for that was in Corda, so also a permission blockchain. And slowly we went to public blockchains. And the main idea was this kind of technology is certified. Okay, it's NIST certified. The NIST, I'm not sure if you know, if it's the main US organism for all that is related to information security of information.
Okay.
All the standards of cryptography are done by NIST, and it's really a reference globally. So this certification gives NIST gives a certification which is called FIPS 142, which gives all the compliance to the banks and the guarantee of the security.
Got it.
So, but basically, when we entered in this blockchain space, we needed to do some modifications to be able to run cryptographic process of the main blockchains into this equipment. And basically, the ones that work with blockchain know very well the hardware wallet, which we can use as a person, right? The Trezor or Ledger, and the concepts when we go to blockchain is a bit the same. Is keeping keys very well protected,
right,
within a secured perimeter of the HSM, and the idea is never to expose the keys, and now we can do that with digital asset keys within HSM. So it works like a safe, basically.
Interesting. So it sounds like across all these use cases, whether it be for document signing, whether it be for PICs, whether it be with these integrations with different blockchains and kind of venturing into this world. I mean, it sounds like you guys are really providing this layer of really critical infrastructure that's almost like touching every level of Brazilian society at this point, right? Like everybody
we participate in the main Brazilian projects of national security. So the PICs, you mentioned the certificate digital, the TEDs as well. Before the PICs, there were the SPB, which is Sistema de Pagos Brasileiro, which is TEDs. It's bank sending to another bank. That's a direct message. And banks also use this kind of solution to guarantee that their message is well signed with their certificate, with their keys.
Got it. And then, so you're also moving into another area that's going to be pretty transformative across the Brazilian financial system, at least, and probably society more generally, which is the digital real Drex system. And you guys Dynamo is a participant in at least one of these consortia, the 16 consortia. And I believe you're providing some technical support to some of the other consortia as well. But we'd love to just get some color on, what is your involvement in the consortium, and what's been your involvement in kind of this digital real Drex development to date, and we can kind of go from there.
Yeah. So for the consortium, basically what we have here, it's a pilot, and several companies are participating into this real life experiments, I would say. What we're providing, we provide value in what I already told you. It's always protecting keys. So basically we offer a piece of infrastructure for the groups where we participate to show that they are complying with one of the main directive of the pilot, which is having at least the same cybersecurity protection as the traditional financial market. That's one of the directive of the central bank. So basically we enter in two aspects for that. The first one is helping to secure the keys, the token keys, so the wallets that will be generated within our consortiums. So here it's protecting the cryptographic keys that will be generated there. Here we were talking about you generate the key within the HSM, and the HSM protects these keys. All the transactions are done within the HSM, so the keys are never exposed elsewhere than in the cryptographic environment of the HSM. So that's one of the aspects, is closely related to custody. And the second one is when we talk about permissioned blockchain, the nodes between them, they are authorized to work together. So there's a proof of authority, consensus between the nodes in the Drex pilots.
This is on the Hyperledger Bazoo platform that they're using.
Bazoo.
Right.
And so what we've done is that we connected Hyperledger Bazoo with our HSM, so as the nodes that are participating to the Drex protect their keys within an HSM, and so their keys are used to identify themselves within the network. For the validating nodes, they propose new blocks, and for the participating nodes, they all sign the nodes with their keys. And so the idea is that those keys are protected within the HSM. And so basically, we offer like this somehow a solution to really guarantee the integrity of the whole network.
Got it.
So we are in the TecBan consortium officially, which is dealt with Baza, Banco Baza, which is the Bank of Amazonia, Banco Arbi as well, and other players. And we're participating also in other consortiums with these solutions and adding value like this, basically with a security purpose.
Right. So essentially, the value proposition is, I'm just going to repeat this back, just make sure I'm understanding it correctly. But basically, you're for all these different actors in the network, or in the whether it be within the particular consortium or just the network more broadly, everybody has to have kind of like a unique identifier of some sorts within the network when they're using to sign off on transactions to execute blocks. And obviously those keys need to be like, there's in cryptography you obviously have like the public key and you have the private key, right? So your public key is kind of like your unique digital identifier, signature, whatever you want to call it. And then the private key is basically like, you got to keep that for yourself. And then otherwise, if somebody kind of hijacks that, they can basically start signing transactions on your behalf.
And it's the same when you talk about a person that will do auto custody. You have two choices: either going to a software wallet like MetaMask, or you'll go through a hardware wallet device, a hardware wallet solution, which is of course much more secure. The only reason it's more secure is because the private keys are not exposed to the internet, so they're kept within this device. And the idea with the HSM is really the same. But it's adapted to an institutional case. So basically, you will use the HSM in the center of your custody strategy, either to really protect the keys as a safe. And in this configuration, is really the same as an hardware wallet, but of course with all the components of a FIPS 142 device. Or you will use HSM to give you access to the keys. So basically, it will keep the components that will allow you to use the keys. So different configuration, but basically we can have a configuration from a very cold wallet, totally unplugged from the internet, with manual processes to secure, to guarantee the security of the cryptographic keys, to another range, hotter range. I won't say it's a hot wallet, but it's more like a warm wallet, because you have more automatic configuration there to use the keys. And of course here you take profit of the high throughputs of the HSM that can do thousands of operations per second.
Got it. And yeah, like, it's interesting that you guys have really kind of figured out how to do this stuff at scale, right? Where obviously the problem of crypto and blockchains for ages has been just like, okay, how do you get kind of the transaction throughput that you need to be able to guarantee the security of all these transactions, but while also being able to process millions of these things per second, essentially thousands, billions per second. And
for the Drex, it will be very important because, we suppose that we'll have a lot of operations per second. If you imagine that any assets of the financial world could enter in Drex, we're talking about a lot of transactions.
Yeah, because it goes beyond just payments, right?
Yeah.
If you're already doing 150 million per day, just PIX, and PIX is just me buying a coconut from you and sending back for 2-3 has or whatever it might be. Obviously, that's a huge use case. But if you move into just any asset that can be financialized, like what we're talking about with Drex, whether it's whether it's like a tokenized title to my car or my house, or whether it's foreign exchange or like other types of government bonds or other types of equities or debt instruments that get traded nonstop essentially.
Exactly.
That's going to be kind of another layer on top of just payments, right? So you're probably need at least the same 150 million per day is probably going to be executing through this system.
Yeah, we don't know. Maybe at the beginning it will be more complex operations, more expensive operations. So I don't think it will be much more volume than PIX. Definitely will be more value than PIX, that's for sure. Volume, let's see. We will have to deploy and to develop all the use cases, and that's the work of the banks that will be included in this Drex ecosystem, and that we believe that will develop all the use case for the population.
Yeah. No, it's super interesting, and it's just interesting that you guys are providing this level of you've almost gotten to the point where like everybody in Brazil uses PIX, is interacting with your software in some capacity, and it looks like it's going to be that kind of same setup for the Drex transactions. Though from what I gather, it doesn't seem like Drex is going to be necessarily something that individual retail Brazilian people are going to be using on a day-to-day basis necessarily. They might use it I'm not selling my car every single day, right? I might sell it once every 5 years,
exactly. But maybe but if you add this to financial services, to investments, to credits, to credit requests, to loans. Can be that can.
There'll be kind of a multiplier effect as more and more assets are onboarded onto this system, and then this super app, wallet that the central bank has been talking about building as part of the whole open finance program, which will kind of loop in the open finance initiatives, the PIX initiatives, and also the Drex initiatives. Kind of a lot of jargon there, but basically like a government sort of government not mandated necessarily, but
at the end of the day, it's a super future, because the idea is to make life of people easier, right? And stimulate new use case, stimulate inclusion, reduce also costs. Here, like credit costs are very high. So I think at the end, the idea is to serve the population, and that will be something that will be very great. Here in Brazil, and I think we're quite showing the world how it could be done. Let's see how this Drex pilot goes. I think there's some challenges yet. I think the security challenge, the banks will succeed to handle it with some solutions like HSM, which come from the banking world, which are part of the best practice of the banking world. So that's cool. But then there's the privacy challenge as well. That is not very well solved. When you talk about the blockchain, of course, people could see the operations, or at least the volume of operations that are there. So if you're a bank, you can quite see what your competitor is doing. Or within the bank, it's how do you preserve the privacy of the participants and of the people that will do this use case. So that's still a challenge. See how we.
Well, this is a kind of a core issue I think a lot of these blockchain consortium projects over the years have run into, right? Where just the idea of it sounds great. It's like, hey, let's all do this joint network, and we'll, it'll be more efficient and more, whatever, and we'll have all the, whatever it might be. But like at the end of the day, a lot of these people, you're in a network with your consortium, with these like direct competitors. Essentially, you don't necessarily want your competitors knowing and seeing all your transaction activity, and there's just a lot of complexities here.
So there's some small challenges like. Connecting to the Drex network, we talk a bit about that, right? Today it's quite a small technical challenge, right? Like all the banks need to connect to the national network for transactions, which is the RSFN in Brazil. Right. It was quite a deal, because not all the participants had enough bandwidth to connect. Central bank required two links to the RSFN of at least 10 mega, and not all banks have this. Even the big banks didn't have that.
I mean, can you talk about? I mean, this is kind of a point of, I guess, maybe a little bit of confusion for me, just because I've written about this in my last couple of newsletters. I've seen the reporting on it, but you have, I mean, a 10 megabyte internet connection isn't. I mean, that's like what we had in the 90s, basically, right? For at my house, for like a retail customer, right? But obviously for institutions, there's kind of a different setup here.
Right. I'm not very technical, so I'm not sure about the quantities there of bytes and so on. But the idea is it's a closed network, so normally you don't need a lot of bandwidth because the message that goes there, it's not like the internet.
Yeah, you're not sending each other videos, right?
It's just messages and cryptographic messages there.
Right.
So you don't need a high, but in terms of costs, as it's a closed network, it's very costly to have a link of 10 megabytes.
Okay.
So and it lasts a long time. So and there's only two providers that provide this. So that's why it caused a bit of confusion at the beginning.
Got it.
In the pilot. So because some participants were not ready to have this link, and it lasted a bit of time for them to have it. But for me, it's a minor challenge.
Yeah.
Within the biggest challenge that we have there is that to prove that having this semi-decentralized network, we succeed to do programmability of transactions, so DVP cases, PVP cases, with privacy and respecting the law, the Brazilian law, which comes above all.
Right,
so
right.
That's the main challenge.
And then maybe just as the last question to kind of wrap up here, you know, the privacy issue has definitely been something that the central bank has even admitted that, like, hey, we just don't really have a solution for this right now. We're still kind of exploring some different possibilities. But is that something, you know, I guess there's maybe kind of two types of privacy here. Like there's privacy of just protecting the private keys of the key holder. There's that level of security. But then there's also like protecting like the identity of the person that's, you know,
the problem here is the identity. I think the security of the keys of the holders, that will be dealt with the banks.
Yeah.
That's why the banks are in the game.
Yeah.
Because they will, let's say they will provide non-custodial wallets to their clients. They will take care of the keys for them. So
yeah.
And we believe they will bring the best practice in securities. They will comply with the recommendations of the central bank. Not all the banks comply with them. If you take PIX, for instance, the central bank recommends that every bank has an HSM to send the PIX message. So basically, we talked about the central infrastructure, the central bank that use HSM, but every bank that sends a PIX message don't necessarily has an HSM to secure its key.
Oh, interesting.
But that's a recommendation of the central bank. So not all comply with the recommendation, but
okay.
At least we believe that most of them will comply and will bring at least all their best efforts to provide a secured environment for the custody of those keys. And of course, the banks, their main assets is reputation, and they're the best players to allow everyone the mass adoption of blockchain technology. So, of course, Drex is super nice because every bank is looking into blockchain right now. But we know that they are already entering in cryptocurrency markets and tokenization initiatives. So they're really looking into blockchain. And so we really believe that they will be the vectors of mass adoption for blockchain technology, either for cryptocurrencies, for tokenization, for Drex, and they will bring the best practice of financial industry into blockchain. When we talk about blockchain, it's a disruptive world that came really almost against bank, right, in the beginning, and so much more, I think, concerned about relevance of use case, as proving that blockchain is relevant, is a good use case, and not so much into security, because it costs a lot to have a very secure solution. And now that banks are going into that world, that the traditional finance is melting with crypto world. So now we'll have, I think, the best of both worlds here.
Yeah.
Security and best practice, compliance, and all the use cases that you can do with blockchain.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's no better place than Brazil where these worlds are kind of melding together, like you mentioned. I guess one last question here would be, I think you have with Brazil, you really have like a push to. I really see like Brazil being kind of a leader in but not in PIX, but also on the Drex side of things. And just kind of curious as I think you're going to have more countries internationally, like kind of copying and like trying to replicate what Brazil has achieved here. And
It's the same with PIX, huh?
with PIX, you're already having.
There's a Fed now.
Yeah, there's this idea is being exported, right, in different formats. And I think you're going to probably see that same trend taking place with Drex. So I'm just kind of curious as from the Dinamo Networks perspective, what do you guys see as like kind of an international strategy? Like, do you guys see, potential for expanding into like new countries that are looking at adopting these models?
Of course, we're looking, mainly, we're a Brazilian company here, so 100% national technology here. We're looking into several aspects of internationalization, mainly through Latin America. So we have several clients already in Latin America. And we're looking a bit into alternative markets. So within blockchain space, we have some partners that are already developing in Dubai, in the Emirates. And I think that's a path of internationalization. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, hey, Jean-Michel, really appreciate your time. Thanks for being here today. I know you got to get to a panel here to speak.
Right now.
So we'll let you get going here, but really appreciate your time. And we'll include all your links for your contact information in the episode here, but really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.